Hello everyone and welcome to Full Stack Academy. My name is Corey Greenwald. This is Zach Levine, John Perrelle, and Geoff Bass. And we're the team behind Graphiti. Graphiti is a web-based data visualization tool that allows users to easily create customizable charts for any data set. We were inspired to create this tool because of the difficulty in using many of the other existing charting libraries. To talk to you a little bit more about how we went through this process, I give you Zach Levine.
Thanks, Corey. Say we have a user, Rick. Rick is a used car salesman who's interested in visualizing the data on some of his vehicles. Using our app, Rick can simply upload a file containing that data, and he's immediately shown a table representation of that data set. He can browse it in this format, and he can also choose to save it to his account. Dataset storage was handled by Amazon S3 web service, and this was designed to alleviate the hosting duties of our web server. Once a data set has been uploaded, Rick can select the data columns, and he is immediately shown 5 preview graphs below. Graphiti currently offers 5 different types of graphs: line, scatter, bar, histogram, and pie chart, all made in D3.js. When Rick finds a graph that best represents his data set, he can click on the preview and will be navigating to the editing view. Geoff will now go over the editing features built into our app.
Thanks, Zach. In this view, Rick can edit the graph using an intuitive settings panel. We used Angular's two-way data binding to render changes made to the graph in real time. Writing custom directives for each type of chart helped keep our code clean and readable, even as we added new options and features. To make these directives flexible enough to handle multiple data types and formats, as well as different user-defined settings for every type of graph, we decided to do these in pure D3 rather than a charting library that wraps around D3. This gave us more control over the way we rendered the graphs and allowed us to standardize the way they interact with data and create reusable components. This also led to a much more consistent and clean user experience. Rick can now save the graph to his account, then go back and view or edit it later with all of his custom settings applied. Now John's going to talk a little bit more about how we built Graphiti.
Thanks, Geoff. Rick has his graph, but he'd like to chart some new information. From his account page, he can go back to the same data set where he can select new data to graph. Our goal in building this application was to be able to render customizable graphs based on any data selected by the user. Working with a variety of data was one of the biggest challenges we faced, as we had to transform it into a format that was compatible with D3 and flexible enough to allow for the customization we wanted to provide to the user. To do this, we created algorithms that filter, sort, and group data into a D3 readable format before passing it into our custom graph directives. We implemented these algorithms in reusable Angular factories, which kept our code modular, and our graph directives light on functionality. Once Rick is happy with his graph, he can download an image of it, or he can copy an SVG snippet onto his clipboard to embed in his blog or HTML code. Now, let's say Rick is interested in graphing data he doesn't already have. Corey is going to walk us through the searching functionality we've integrated into our app.
Thanks, John. Let's say Rick finds himself in the very familiar situation where he needs to find data that he does not already have. Well, we've integrated with Socrata Open Data API, which gives our users access to more than 10,000 datasets right at their fingertips. All Rick has to do is click the search button and begin searching for a topic. He can filter by category. After he decides on what he wants to search for, he'll have options that you see right here, and he can pick the one most relevant to him. Once he clicks on it, he's rendered with the dataset just as we saw before. He can click on it, and simply, after a couple minutes, you can actually see that Rick has become quite the Graphiti chartist. Thank you guys so much for your time, and hopefully you check us out again at graphiti.us. Any questions?